Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk a bit about mental health and mental well-being within the theatre industry. This is a video that I've actually wanted to make for quite a while. A lot of people in our industry have been talking up and speaking about their experiences and the importance of looking after ourselves mentally within this industry, which I think is really important, and I'm really happy that these discussions are being had. I think there are a lot of stresses and things that are difficult for people to cope with that are so prevalent just in the nature of our industry. I mean, aside from the fact that in our society we tend to define ourselves by our jobs, and if you're resting, if you're not currently in theatrical or artistic work, that can be a difficult thing to deal with sometimes. We also, I think as a society, define people by their artistic pursuits from a very early age, when your work is also around something that you've been defined on for most of your life, as I think most creative people start from quite an early age. I think that also adds to that pressure. And then there's just the nature of our industry is full of rejection from auditioning and, you know, even submitting yourself for roles and maybe not even getting into the audition room. There's so much rejection in our industry, and that can wear you down. There's a lot of competition and that can get to people. So I think it is something that is really important to talk about in our industry. So I just wanted to add to that conversation by sharing with you guys some advice and some things that I found helpful during my journey. Things that I found when things aren't going my way, when, you know, things are getting me down, that hopefully you guys will find useful. So yeah, that's what this video is about today. I've got tea. So tea makes everything better. That's not even one of my tips that I'm about to go into. Just bonus tip, tea solves everything. So my first piece of advice as something to remember is that you as a person are not defined by your talent. You are so much more than your talent, whether that's singing, dancing, playing an instrument, acting. That's not all you have to offer the world. You have so much more to give to the people around you, to the people that you love, and that's so easy to forget. My second piece of advice, again as something to remember, is that your last job or your last audition, however good or bad it may have been, does not define your talent. I've done some very bad auditions. Luckily for me, they've been few and far between, but I also know people who have done bad auditions, particularly when they first come out and they're like, well, I'm not going to be seen by that casting director for a while. That doesn't define your talent. Yeah, you might have to wait a bit before you write to that casting director again to be like, yeah, so I've improved since you heard me butcher that song, but I'm better now and I've done all of these things, so you know I'm good. Please see me again. But you will survive it. You will survive that terrible show that got awful reviews. You will survive that terrible audition when you fell over, when you walked in the room, or whatever it was. And that doesn't define your talent in the same way that your talent doesn't define your worth as a human being. So now you've remembered those two things, here's some practical advice. Practical piece of advice number one, which I always try and do. If you go to an audition, reward yourself. I have heard actors say that they can't be bothered to go to an audition and haven't gone. Don't do that. But also that means if you do go to an audition, you've already done half the battle. Auditions are stressful, auditions are horrible. The same amount of adrenaline goes through your body during an audition as a minor car crash. They're a huge deal. So reward yourself. You've done good by going to that audition, no matter how it went. Go and grab a hot chocolate, meet up with a friend for coffee afterwards, go shopping, get a glass of wine if you're over 18. I'm assuming if you're going to auditions by yourself, you're over 18 in the UK, so get yourself a glass of wine, get yourself a G&T. You've done good, treat yourself. Another thing that can really help is making auditions a normal part of your day. That way they're not the only thing that's going on, and if they go badly, you know, you have other things that you've done with your day. It's not kind of the be all and end all. It just, if that audition doesn't go well, you can be like, I've also done this. I've done my laundry, I've cleaned my flat, I've sent those emails I need to do. Speaking of bad auditions, if you get a rejection or you do a bad audition, and they do happen, do things to comfort yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't go over everything being like, oh, I should have done this, or I should have done that. Be kind to yourself. Have a bubble bath if you find that comforting. If you enjoy doing exercise, go for a run or whatever it is. Have a hot chocolate, have, let yourself have comfort food, and talk to people and socialize. Even if you don't talk about the audition, and sometimes you don't want to talk about the audition, especially if the only people you've got to talk to don't understand necessarily. Just talking and getting yourself present and thinking about something else can really help you get out of that I'm a terrible actor headspace that you get into when you've done a really rubbish audition and you're like, all of my talent had disappeared in the 10 minutes where they counted. Why? Do things to comfort yourself. Be around people who you find comforting. You need to be kind to yourself to get back on the horse. Another thing you can do if you get a rejection or you do a bad audition is do something proactive. So if you've been working on a speech or a song, go and practice that speech or song. If there's a song that you know that you knock out of the park, sing it through. If there's a casting director that you've been meaning to write to them. If there's an opportunity you've been meaning to submit yourself for, submit yourself. Doing that positive step and getting back on the horse is going to make you feel a little bit better. My final piece of advice is, if you're struggling and you need help, reach out, and if you want to, speak out. So I'm going to break that down into two halves. In terms of reaching out, I'm going to research a load of stuff and put it in the description. But just quickly, I'm going to talk about some of the resources that I know a little bit more about anyway. First port of call can be your GP. GPs are great. They can refer you on to psychiatrists if you need further kind of help in terms of talking therapies or cognitive behavioral therapy, things like that. But they can also do things like check that you're getting enough sleep, that you're eating healthily, and that you're getting enough exercise, because those three things can have a massive effect. They can suggest you onto lots of other things that you can access yourself in, like, kind of in the interim if you're waiting for more kind of talking based therapies, or if they're kind of like, this is something that you can learn to manage yourself without any further assistance from medical professionals, which can be really great and really empowering as well in terms of feeling that you've got access to tools to help yourself. Can be great. On the NHS, you can self-refer for therapies. So if you feel that you do need to talk to someone professional, you can self-refer without going via your GP. There's BAPAM, which is the British Association for Performing Arts Medicine. They do have counselling services. They are specifically tailored to people within the performing arts industries. So they are gonna know what kind of stresses you have, but also therefore have solutions to those problems that are actually actionable. It's not free if you go via BAPAM, but it will be tax deductible because it's specific to your work as a freelance self-employed person, and it's going to be nowhere near as expensive as private therapies through private insurers or just private avenues. In terms of general information, for eating disorders, there's BEAT, there's also mind.org.uk, which has so much information on all sorts of mental health conditions, also information about what talking therapy is, what cognitive behavioral therapy is, what different types of antidepressants are. So if you go to a GP and they recommend prescribing you antidepressants, you can look up what they are and what they do. So, you have all that information. If you're in the UK, also Samaritans. If you just need to talk to someone, however big or small, the Samaritans are great. Apps. I was gonna go on a tangent about apps. Meditation and mindfulness can be really useful. So Headspace is a great one. There's also a free one called Stop, Breathe, Think. There are probably some other apps as well. I'll do some Googling and find them and put them in the description below. So the second part of this piece of advice was, if you want to speak out, Every year, particularly around Mental Health Awareness Week, I see so many of my friends, both in the industry and outside the industry, post about what they've gone through in terms of their mental health journey, of them going through struggles of whatever it may be, anxiety, depression, whatever it is, and sharing their stories. And every year I'm so proud of those friends for being strong enough and brave enough to be able to do that. It raises awareness. It makes people who might be going through the same thing not feel alone when they see other people having stories that are similar to theirs. And those are both really important, really great things. So if you feel able to share your story and you want to, and you know, you feel that you're emotionally able to cope with that and deal with that, then absolutely, please do. And if you're worried about what people might think and how people might react, what I will say is you can't control that. You can't control how people will react. If people want to be horrible people and be like, oh wow, that's really sad that you've gone through that, oh poor you, or whatever. I don't really know what people might say that's horrible, because every time people have posted stuff like that, they've just been nothing but supportive and loving. But you know, there might be someone who doesn't react like that and decides to share it on, you know, your post or whatever. What I will say is, like I said, most people respond with love and compassion and support. And also, if people react like that, you don't need those people in your life. There's a unfriend and block and delete buttons for a reason. You don't need those people in your life. And, you know, maybe it's better that if those people come out of the woodwork that you know about it, so you can be like, bye Felicia. Is bye Felicia still a thing? I don't know, I'm old. And also in terms of professionally, I think any professionals within our industry or any industry that uses people's stories as an excuse to not cast them or whatever, that's technically illegal. I mean, it's hard to prove that that's the reason you haven't been cast, but it is illegal to discriminate for reasons such as disability, and mental health does count under that kind of bracket. And B, do you really want to be working with those kind of people? We have agency. As creatives, we have agency. We can decide what jobs we do and do not take. The pressure is always to take the jobs because, you know, they're few or far between. And if you get one job in 20 auditions, you know, you're doing good. But to be honest, if someone is not going to take you seriously because you've gone through a struggle in your life, when 1 in 4 of us will go through struggles in our lives, I don't know about you guys watching, but I would rather know about it so I can not work with that person. So that's all I would say about that. It's something to take into account. You know, you need to be in a good place to deal with that, but you shouldn't let those worries hold you back. If you're like, no, I'm ready, I can take that. Oh, but I might lose some jobs out of it. Are there jobs you want to take in the first place? Is all I would say. Only you can answer that question, but yeah. If you don't want to share your story, leading on from that, if you don't want to share your story, if you don't feel emotionally ready, or even if you just don't want to, you know, share your business on social media, then that's okay. And that doesn't make you any worse of a person. It doesn't make your story and your struggles any less valid or any less true. It doesn't make you a bad activist or mean that you're taking back all of the work that people are doing to, you know, raise awareness about these things and to change things, to make things better and make things easier for people if they're having difficulties. Your struggle is valid. You are valid as a person. You are allowed to be seen. You're allowed to be going through what you're going through. It doesn't invalidate you in any way if you don't want to share your story. It's your story, it's your life, and you decide who gets to know about that part of it. So I just wanted to say that as well. So that's the end of this video. I hope my tea hasn't gone cold. It hasn't gone cold, guys. Tea solves everything. Yeah, that's the end of this video. I really hope that you found it helpful. Since kind of relaunching / reposting on this channel from the beginning of this year, I've really wanted it to be about giving advice. I'm a jobbing actor. I'm still, in the grand scheme of things, fairly new to this industry, and there's just lots of things that I think I've learned and am learning on this journey that if I was starting out, it would have been useful to know. So that's kind of why I've started reposting on this channel, and what my real aim of this channel is to give you guys advice, let you guys know what I've discovered and what I wish I had known. So if you are finding these videos helpful, then I'm really, really happy. If there's anything that you guys want me to talk about, if there's anything that you want to know, then please leave it in the comments below and I will do my best to answer those questions. And thank you so much for watching. If you're still here and you're watching this, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I will see you next month with my next video. See you soon. Bye. I feel like I've waffled. I'll fix it in editing.